Hello, dear Starshines. Christina here with Rise of the Multi-Dimensional Human and Lightbody Academy. Welcome to today's lunchtime chats. For those of you who are new to the chats, my name is Christina and I am the acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about topics and issues that are significant for us new paradigm way showers, visionaries, healers, shamans, starseeds, things that are very unique to our path that other folks in our encounter. So we're here to talk about those things, and I'm here to provide the liberated perspective to the best of my ability. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to pause here and wait for the gang to come on in. And while I chill out here and wait, I'm just going to light some lovely white sage gifted to me by a lovely starshine from this group, who is an amazing gardener and, well, just a lovely, lovely starshine on many levels. So thank you, darling, for this. And I offer this smudge to not just myself, but to all the beings here today. My intention is that truth gets revealed in our interactions. You open to the truth, the real truth of what's happening and what your spirit wants you to know, and me conveying that truth with grace, compassion, and clarity. Because we have some extremely hot topics today to talk about. Good morning, dear Kitty. Good morning, Polly. Good morning, Hodai. Thank you for saying hi and being here. I'm coming to you guys from, well, it has been nice, but this is now gloomy Idaho. So, and it's raining and it's cold and all that good stuff. So it's a perfect day to be indoors, to be talking with you guys. All right. So while you guys are settling in, take a moment to acknowledge the sun above you, the nature that's all around you. Even if you're in the city, there's nature around you. There's wind, there's birds, there's creepy crawlies. So take a moment to acknowledge all those beings of nature that are all around you, the spirits of the lands. Perhaps you have an altar space set up in your house. Just think about that altar space to activate that. Perhaps honoring the waters, the keepers, all the beings around you, all the beings of Mother Nature that are here to support you on this path of awakening, of empowerment, of liberation. Because truly, the Pachamama, Mother Earth, is here to accommodate us. She's here to gift us everything that we need to fulfill our dreams. That is the core agreement that we have with her, to dream our dream within her dream. So let's just take a moment and give thanks and honor that. And when we do that, we are honoring the reality that we are multidimensional, infinite beings that came here in an empowered way. Not as a victim, not as a slave. We came here, and there is a deep agreement for us to come here and be empowered to have the reality we want to have. Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and dive into the topics that we have today. Before I do, I want to say thank you to everybody who responded to the thread, the topics thread that I put into that Dear Sister Starshine Heather posted in the Rise group a few days ago. Everything that you guys mentioned are awesome topics. It's all really great stuff. And I may just circle back around and address the rest of those questions too in next week's chat, or if I have some spare time in this chat, perhaps. As you guys know, sometimes I have difficulty fitting all this in an hour. But I'm going to announce the ones that I've outlined for today, all from you guys. So thank you so much. One of the questions is, what can you do to get out of false timelines? This is a great question because false timelines are major avenues of draining life force energy right now for humanity and derailing in a lot of ways humanity into creating the life and the reality that they want. So I'm really super stoked to talk about that. I think first I need to outline what creates false timelines first, and then we'll go into the kinds of things that we can do about it. And a little dovetail on that is Dear Sister Starshine is wanting to get out more to be seen in her gifts, but is not clear on how to do that without it being something that feeds and fuels her ego driver. So, so that also is closely tied into this particular issue that I'm going to be talking about. And then the next one is it possible to be too open? Now, we know it's possible to be too open energetically to the humans around us, but this particular question, I believe, dear Sister Starshine, you're talking about too open and be in dream time. And that is an excellent, excellent topic to be diving into, because this is something that many sensitives do run into once they start opening up to their abilities more and more and more. So it's a little bit more of an advanced topic, but I'm going to do my best to cover that in a way that everybody can relate to and understand. And then dear Sister Starshine Dale asked about what do you know about our sun being hijacked? And in that question, she referenced an Aboriginal story about the sun originally being seen and honored as grandmother, or a female force. So this is a very interesting question, and it ties into these other topics, especially the false timelines. So, so this is a really interesting thing for us to dive into. There are not many people who know, there's not many indigenous cultures that have kept their creation stories that acknowledge the sun as a female. So, so in a way, I was kind of surprised that question even came up, but I also know dear Starshine a little bit from having some conversations, and I have an understanding that she's deeply connected in with the Australian Aboriginal collective. And so she's aware of those stories. So I'm happy to talk about this, because this will open perhaps people to other ideas of creation. And, you know, it's really important to have creation stories, even if you believe that they're a myth and not true. Creation stories that honor all life as being sacred, creation stories that honor all life of having value, are really important, because on a subconscious level, a lot of humans, the only creation stories they ever hear are the ones propagated and facilitated by religions such as Christianity. You know, the creation story that is in the Bible, which is a major program. So, and if that's the only creation story you have in your awareness, in a lot of ways, you're floating and you're lost, because that particular, you know, frame up was given to humanity on purpose to influence humanity, and not actually reveal the real truth of where we came from and our true history. You know, and we'll see that in, like, you know, a lot of researchers and a lot of historians, and like, say, like the ones that read, archaeologists and geologists that research the ancient pyramids in Egypt. You know, they skew any research. They censor and shut down any scientist that comes in, or researcher, archaeologist that comes in and works with a different timeline than that which is told in the Bible, and which totally cancels out anybody who wants to really discover the truth. And the truth is, you know, life didn't begin just 5,000 years ago with the word of God, you know, the Yahweh God. You know, humans have been around for many hundreds of thousands of years on this planet. And once we start to wake up to that, we realize just how truncated the current history humanity has. That creation story of talking about the sun being other than female, you are predating even the most ancient history told to us by the stories of Atlantis and the stories of ancient Egypt. Okay, so so this is a really interesting thing to talk about and to weave into this conversation for me. All right, especially. Yeah. Hello, dear Sister Georgette. Hi, Dale. Good morning, Gary and Nancy. Hi, Carol and Joanne. All right, all the star shines. My favorite star shines are here. Let me go ahead and dive in and get started. We'll do our activation part first, and then I'll start tying in these pieces. So we'll start with, I have to decide if we start it with the here and now, or if we start with the galactic plane. I'm feeling like starting with the galactic plane. So when I say the galactic plane, I'm talking about the nesting doll of reality. All of this is nested inside the Milky Way galaxy. Let's see, I'm just going to make a great big circle, make sure it stays in frame here. this outer nesting doll. It all begins with the Madre de Dios, the emptiness. It all begins with emptiness. The Madre de Dios, the Mother of God, aka the Milky Way galaxy. Some people might relate to the Milky Way galaxy through the concept, perception, energy, frequency of Kuan Yin, the holder of infinite compassion. And when we wake up to these levels of ourselves, we do wake up. We clear our lenses that hinders our ability to hold space and recognize things with the lens of infinite compassion. All beings deserve a place to live. All beings have a place to exist that feeds life. It's not about only the right, only the light, only the divine, only this, only that. It's all beings without exception. Light, dark, AI, organic. All beings have a place within this nesting doll, within the galaxy that is in harmony with life. All beings without exception. The Mother of God, the one who births all consciousness into being, including what we perceive as the perception of the all that is, the God. And that is the next nesting doll, the all that is. The all that is. This is, I'm going to say 9 right here, and this is 8. Maybe with 8D, what we would call. And the all that is the breath that breathes through all things. It's everything that has a cell, everything that has a molecule, everything that has an atom, has this level of being within it. They're without exception. It's unconditional. It's not that some do and some don't. If you have an elemental being within you, if you have an atom, you have the all that is presence within you. You are a part of it. Because without that all that is presence, you couldn't have an atom, then you couldn't have molecules, and then you couldn't have matter. Okay, so this is an unconditionalness that we all have, we all share. And then those of us who are sentient beings, especially those who are human and other types of beings, we at some point have a moment in way back in our soul's journey memory, way back, we have a moment of separating from the all that is and experiencing an individuation. So that moment of separation into individuation, that tone, that frequency that separates out from the all that is, this is what we might refer to as our soul song, our tone, our core frequency. Now, this frequency is an organizing force. As we know, sound creates shape. So this frequency is the organizing force for the next step of our individuation, which is our light body. Okay. So our frequency is perceivable through our lens that connects into the stellar networks. And our light body is what a lot of people refer to as divine blueprint. And that's, they'll say 6th dimension. And then that blueprint, all that blueprint holds is unfolded through our free will and recorded within the AKASHA. Okay? So depending on what kinds of formulations are within the blueprint, that determines what timelines, what lifetimes, what experiences we are going to have within this Milky Way galaxy. And that's many dimensions and realms. That's just not 3D. That's many dimensions and realms. And that's all contained within our light body. And it's all recorded within the AKASHA. The AKASHA is the eyes that we see through our heart. Okay, the AKASHA is we'll say, as we go down in density, is the last level of our infinite, of us being in infinite nature. Okay, that means we're not bound by time. We do have a causality piece in here, but it's not linear time. It's something that cycles and cycles. And within our AKASHA is the recording of all experiences that we've had, all wisdom, constructs, all that stuff that we've had on our soul's journey. It's the perception of that infinite, endless journey of the soul. And then, and just notice how these circles are happening here. I'm talking about the AKASHA. When we're looking at these levels, when we're looking at these realms nested inside of each other, when we're just talking about the Mother of God into the AKASHA, just notice all this is open. It's infinite. You see what I mean? It just keeps going and going and going and going. It's almost like all potentials right here. And then we go into another layer of density. And that next layer of density is linear time and space. So that's going into the linear time. So now you see the AKASHA becomes delineated a little bit more. And this linear time is it's same as the time perceived and explained by Einstein, right? Theorized by Einstein. It's the theory of relative time. Though we may experience it as something that's concrete and solid, what Einstein discovered was that it is relative. It's not solid. It's something that is an energy and it's relative. So that means that there's there's bending and moving within of the potential that time offers. And we want to have time. We want to have linear time because that will now give us the perception required to define our experiences, which is our ego driver. Now, our ego driver is often, demonized by spiritual practices and religions and stuff like this. But really, in order for us to have a human experience and to cultivate perceptions and relationship stuff like this, we have to have an ego driver to help define us from the rest of our surroundings. So the ego driver is not the bad part. It's part of our nature when we're in a biosuit. The problem is that our ego driver, our reality has been super manipulated. Our ego driver has been manipulated to the point where we are completely blind to who we really are. As in, most humans don't even remember their journey through the AKASHA. Most people don't even remember, how to step out of who they are in dream time. Okay, so it's like the ego driver has been manipulated to the point where it's become the enemy because of the manipulation. But ego driver in its pureness and its pure state, when it's in alignment with the spirit of who we are, when I'm saying in alignment, I mean in harmony with the spirit of who we are as an infinite being, our ego driver is a really beautiful asset to have to define experiences and to create relationships. All right. And then here, marking the AKASHA. If you notice, each one of these don't get defined until the next is circled to the next nesting doll comes into view. So the 4D, fourth dimension, time is also collective thought, collective frequency, collective ideas, collective resonance. Big thing there, collective resonance, okay? People actually can be controlled, and not that they don't have free will, it's just they don't recognize it in the here and now moment. People can be so heavily influenced through the collective that you can actually steer humans in the directions that one may want to suit their own agenda. When I say people can control, I'm talking about non-corporeal consciousness. Okay, and this is the big reveal that a lot of humanity is waking up to, is that our consciousness is being manipulated by these beings that aren't human. As a matter of fact, most of them don't even have bodies, yet they have such a profound impact on the direction of humanity. Okay, you guys heard of the mob mentality, right? You'll have people do things that are completely uncharacteristic that they would never do until you get them in a larger group of people that are going crazy doing these things. Then all of a sudden the person finds themselves in it doing it, right? It's an interesting phenomenon. Okay, that's the power of the collective. And right now, in the here and now, with the shenanigans going on with the whole manipulation and you guys know what I'm talking about when I'm saying the shenanigans going on. People are using the power of the collective to influence others to do things that they normally wouldn't do. Okay. So this is a field that's very potent in our human experience, and it's really important for us not to discount it. Because some people, are just kind of discount things. Oh, that's just, this story. A story is not really just a story. A story has energy. Stories have the ability to open someone up to their greatness or shut them down into their helplessness and into their wounding. Stories are very, very powerful. Whether you think it's true or not doesn't even matter. It's it's the feelings and the resonance that arise when you hear a story. That is what impacts. That is part of that feeling is part of what is manifesting in the here and now. It's not whether you believe it or not. Your ego driver chooses to believe it or not, but it doesn't actually make things come to fruition in the 3D. It's the resonance, the feeling within your subconscious, within your body that creates the reality. Okay. So stories aren't just a story. Stories are really powerful, potent tools for humanity. And then we have, so that's our 4D field right here. And then within the 4D field is our 3D. Whoops. That 3D field. Ooh, I'm just skipping right over stuff, aren't I? Hold on. We want to talk about the 3D field while it's open. The 3D field is the next layer of density when you pass through the 4D, the collective resonance, and that is the experience of space. That's the experience of separation. Okay, it's the experience given to us by the senses of our physical body. That's what we experience in the 3D. Now, a lot of our beliefs and thoughts and collective resonance that we have as beings inside of a biosuit influence the nature of our 3D experience. Okay, so this is a really important piece. And then the next step down in density from that 3D experience of space is the Telluric Realm. The Telluric Realm is the language of atoms, language of molecules. It's the realms within realms that are within this body, but are also under the crust of the earth. So the forces of nature that are all around us, air, wind, fire, water, these are elemental beings. This is an elemental consciousness, and this is part of the Telluric Realm. Without these elements, we would not have what our 3D is made up of. Okay, we would not be able to have this 3D experience without the elements. And then it gets even more complex, or more, let's say, sophisticated, when because all those elements come together in many different formulas and create all different kinds of life forms. You have crystalline life forms, right? Who doesn't love crystals, right? You have crystal cities. You have elemental beings like fairies and gnomes and leprechauns, and you know what I mean? You have Sasquatch, you have Yeti, you have all these other beings that are different combinations of elemental intelligence, okay? And not that elemental intelligence is dense and not in connection with these other levels. They absolutely are, okay? It's just that how we experience them in a biosuit is it's like they're moving in a slower pace. There's like a slower vibration happening. So we experience them as really solid sometimes, like stone people, or but it's a lot more than just that density. When the wind blows, the wind carries voices, the wind carries memories, the wind carries stories. As water flows, everything that water touches, touches on stories, touches on feelings, touches on events, and as it flows, it holds that memory. there's a beautiful, beautiful starshine here in this group who's been posting things as she's been researching about water. And there's this one woman that in the research that's getting posted is that she exposes water to an object or an idea and then freezes it. And then, well, I'm not sure if she freezes it. There's some kind of process she does to it. And then that water will hold the imprint of the last thing that it was exposed to, whether it be an object or idea or what have you. So if you guys are in the Rise group, Dear Joanne has posted things that this woman has done. So water is an elemental being. It has memory. It has continuity. And the waters, the winds, the earth, the stone people, all these beings have an impact in how our 3D space is being held, how we, what we can have contact with within this biosuit in a 3D space. So our elemental beings are quite literally in the dream time with us. They are too experiencing the great dream. It's not that they're super dense and therefore don't have a consciousness. They absolutely do. It's just a completely different vibration than what we're taught. You know, reality is not what humans think it is. That's the big piece that gets repeated over and over again from all these beings. Those of you who are Sasquatch communicators, those of you who work with fairies, those of you who work with other kinds of beings, that's usually, right? That's usually one of the big things that they say. Reality is not what you think it is. And as soon as we can step out of the ideas that we think makes our concrete reality, the more reachable we are by these other beings. This is why exospecies relationships is so accelerating for the human consciousness to experience. So those of you who have ET experiences, those of you who have relationships with different star beings or nature spirits, it's like your consciousness is getting accelerated by having those interactions and building those relationships. And it's meant to be that way. Okay, it's meant to be that way. And then from the elemental realm, we have the core of the earth, the core of the Pachamama. Okay, this is the heart and mind of the earth. And she is the one that creates that here and now. Actually, I'm going to put the elementals in there too. Create the here and now. I know I'm making a little sloppy drawing, aren't I? Okay, so the here and now is magnetized. Like everything is magnetized to the moment, then another moment, then another moment. So it's pretty much recreating itself moment to moment to moment. And the centering facet of that is the consciousness of the Pachamama at the core. She is the one holding the dream, that which we are all submerged in. So it is with the actual earth, the Pachamama, that we have the agreement with to be here. She is the one who has given us these bodies. I know genetic manipulation is a part of that conversation, but pretty much nothing happens without her saying so. Okay, so that means other beings that have come here to seed their consciousness, to seed their race, we're doing so out of an agreement, co-creative agreement with the Mother Earth. No being that she doesn't allow to be here can be here. Okay, just remember that. I know there's a lot of stories that are contrary to that, but remember, you know, humanity's, the whole goal for these control beings is to implant stories that enhance our sense of powerlessness, you know what I mean? Enhance our sense of shame, enhance our sense of enslavement. So at a core level, we are here in a co-creative agreement with the Mother to dream our dream within her dream. So that means those that came in with with the purpose of genetic manipulation, they came in to introduce their dream in with the Mother's dream. Okay, and yes, it may have created profound suffering within the life you know, within the mother, but there's a purpose to it. It wasn't for suffering. It was to spawn growth. So this is, in this way, all beings, whether they're dark or light, malicious or not, have a place within the natural world that enhances all of life. Not saying that we have to suffer in order to live, because that is a belief. It doesn't have to be that way. But in the old paradigm, you know, we were taught that suffering gives you nobility. We were taught to, you know, we were given stories to change our relationship to suffering. But now that we're coming into the new paradigm, we are no longer in need to learn through suffering the way we once did. So not that suffering doesn't happen, but it's not a necessity to spur growth. So that means all of the history that happened, all of the growth, all of the movement that happened from suffering of our ancestors and beyond have brought us to this moment where we now can become liberated from the need to suffer. So in this way, suffering served a great purpose. Yeah? Okay. All right, darling, just going to check in, say hello to the people just joining us. Dear Sister Joanne says, check out the group Water Consciousness Movement. The researcher is Veda Austin. Thank you, Joanne, for that. So, and you know, we have a lot of stories in our indigenous circles of, you know, from around the world. And I think, yeah, the American indigenous, the North American indigenous as well have not lost those stories where, you know, water is sacred, water has memory, water has resonance. So on a collective level, on that 4D level, water has resonance. It's programmable with our thoughts, our memories, our emotions. So the water that is within our bodies can resonate with different waters from, you know, from different places within this planet, within this realm. We can have, our water can resonate with the deep ancient waters within the earth. Our waters can resonate with the local water systems. You see what I'm saying? So through resonance, there is no space at all. Resonance transcends the limitations that happen with space. And out of all these nesting dolls, only 3D is space. Everything else, there is no separation. Everything is, you know, it doesn't have those kinds of rules that it has to follow. All right, so getting back to, all right, let me go back to the control systems. So the control systems that are influencing humanity, they are on many levels, but I don't want to freak you guys out because there is a lot of levels of inception and infiltration to the consciousness of humanity. The main ones that I want you guys to be aware of and recognize that you have choices to change and navigate within is this 4D, 5D level. Okay. Yes, there's profound healing and liberation that can happen when you're working with the light body and with the stellar networks and with the all that is. This is absolutely so. So I don't want to discount any of that. That's all absolutely so. But the part that really hits us in the here and now in our daily human experience is that 5D, 4D level where we can recognize things in a moment, in the here and now moment, and decide from a different place within ourselves. And that will actually change, you know, that will actually undo some of the programming, some of the hijacking that has gone on in our history. All right, so let's go to the story of the sun, right? So the story of the sun, right now, as the sun, as humans, most humans are, and I'm just going to reference humans of the Western world, because that's what I live in. I live in the Western world. I don't know necessarily all the creation stories that are out there in the different cultures, but I am aware of some, the ones that I've been exposed to. So some of the most ancient stories that most of the Westerners have access to are the ones given to us from ancient Egypt. Okay, so ancient Egypt, as we know, has a very sophisticated mystery school, and those mystery schools were legendary in the kind of work they did with humans. And a lot of people, matter of fact, in this group, a lot of people here have memory of the sarcophagi initiations, right? Have memories of the initiations in the water tunnels underneath the pyramids with the alligators, initiations of the Blue Lotus, of the tantric openings and stuff like this. So part of the awakening journey to who you are is waking up to the last lifetimes you've experienced multidimensional life. You experience this 3D as a multidimensional experience, not as a flat 3D space experience. And oftentimes that means, memories from Egypt. And those who have exospecies relationships they've been cultivating, you may even have memories awakening that go all the way as far back as Atlantis. Okay, so, or even beyond that. But most of the people in the awakening journey have the really poignant stuff that's in their lives and their memories is the Egyptian initiations and the Atlantean initiations. And the coming of Thoth, the coming of Ra, the coming of these beings, these deities, it is at the time of their coming into the consciousness of humanity is when the stories of the sun turned from female into male. And now many people will reference the sun as Ra, which is considered a male deity. Yeah? Okay. Now, we come from the sun. The planet comes from the sun. Like the sun is a source of infinity, okay, for all of the life in the solar ring, okay? And the planet Earth particularly is an entire universe condensed into a single planetary being. So now I'm saying this to expand your awareness here. So think multidimensionally. There's many realities happening at one time, and there's many universes and galaxies interacting in just our solar ring and in just our planetary experience. Okay, so this is why those stories are so important. So we have stories about the bear. The bear represents the Tau Ceti, which is an ET race. The bear also represents star Sirius, right? The bear also represents stories of life forms from Ursa Major and Minor. Yeah. So having these stories about the different creatures that are all around us within this 3D world, within nature, connects us with the stellar intelligence of these beings. And it tells us that all of these beings that are sharing this reality with us have a history that go beyond just the 3D plane. It has a history multidimensionally like this, okay? So the same kind of thing relates to our sun. Now, at the time when the sun transitioned from female to male, this is also said to be around the time the first moon was introduced to the atmosphere of the Earth, okay? And I've talked about this before when about the fall of the feminine being in charge of the incarnational cycles of this planet, as in they were the ones who decided what beings had the unearned privilege of being birthed into this world. And at the time when women were in charge of that 100% without challenge was a time before the moon. It was the time when we ovulated in harmony, in harmonic resonance with the sun. Okay, that means we ovulated with the change of the seasons, and that was it. And then came the moon. And there are different stories here of different kinds of moons that have been introduced into our environment. The moon we have now is said to be introduced by a Palladian being by the name of Diana, and the moon was built by enslaved ant people. I know it sounds crazy, guys, but just feel in your body what happens when I mention these sorts of things. Is there some kind of twing that happens in your body, maybe an ache or a ping or something like this? Your biosuit has ancestors that go back hundreds of thousands of years, which means your biosuit contains the records of everything that I'm talking about. in the subconscious. The conscious mind can't hit it because we don't have stories to connect us with these realities. We don't have stories to connect us with these resonances, which is why it's so important for us to, for the controllers to corrupt the creation stories, so we can't actually reach these pieces within our subconscious. But many creation stories survived, thankfully, due to the diligence and dedication of our ancestors and of the Telluric Realm, because a lot of the Telluric Realm participated in preserving the records of these stories. This is why it's so important to connect with the stone people, the ancient ones, because they have been around for quite literally millions of years, and they have records stored within them that we can access. But I digress. Let me go back. So the coming of the moon, the first moon, was the coming of the disempowerment program of the feminine, where we no longer had full autonomy over the incarnational cycles. And we also, the sun was no longer associated with our graces, with our nature. The sun, instead of being associated as a feminine force that was all life-giving and honoring on this planet, it switched into a male force that was the source. And when the male source came in as the source, all of a sudden now humans were divided into divine and not divine, deserving and not deserving. You see what I mean? I'm summarizing the stories. There are some really great stories, and I don't know them all. I only know the ones that I've been exposed to, like I said earlier. So when let's say Ra became the godhead of the sun, then we had these what they call them, secondary or minor goddesses, became part of the Parthenon of the experience for the human. Now, and then women no longer ovulated with the season. Instead, they ovulated every month, and they, again, like I said, didn't have control of the incarnational cycles anymore. So that deep level of inception shows you just how all the different systems that we have now, tens, hundreds, and thousands of years later, you can see how deep that rabbit hole goes as far as the control systems, right? And to add more craziness into the mix, AI has been creating programs and have been having influence on life throughout this galaxy for many millions of years. Now, people are being told or being shown or whatever that it's just recently that the AI intrusion has come onto the scene because our consciousness is now awoke to technology. But what I'm saying is that this technology has been around a lot longer than we've been awoke to it. The reason why we're awake to it now is because this is the turning of the ages. The veils within that 4D field that blinded us to who we are and what's really going on in this reality are lifting. That's why there's so many beings right now that have these amazing powers, these amazing abilities that only ancient spiritual masters had. Because, right, because you had to become an ancient spirit, you had to become a spiritual master to order to navigate those lenses, to shed them so you can really see the truth of what's really going on. Then you reach that crossroads of, oh crap, I can't tell anybody this. No human can allow this to happen, because it goes, allow the truth to prevail within themselves, because it goes against everything they think they know. So then the spiritual masters were faced with, okay, what do I do with that, right? But now we aren't, these veils are coming off as a force of nature, and we're waking up more and more and more and more. And now we have each other to talk to. You don't have to be a spiritual master. And I know this story seems sad, but this is a story of liberation and empowerment. We need to wake up to what was, so we can see the choices in our here and now moment. What are our real choices and what are our engineered choices? Okay. This is the point. So dear Sister Starshine asked the questions, what can you do to get off of those false timelines? All right. This is what I'm trying to build up to here. there are a lot of things that we could be doing, and the biggest piece that keeps us on false timelines is the manipulation of our ego driver through belief systems, okay? And our belief systems are based in a lot of different things. We have religions, okay? Number one belief system to shut off humanity's awareness to who they are as an infinite being in a biosuit is religion. And I know that's really going to offend people who really resonate with a particular kind of religion. But if you look back in just our most recent history of 2,000 years, you can see that most of the genocides and terrible things that happened on this planet was because of God, right? People were killing other people because they didn't worship the same God. Bottom line, right? Even when you come down to the most recent world wars, that was turned into a spiritual, they were delineating people according to their spiritual practice. People think that the Jews were the ones that put in the concentration camps. It was a lot more than the Jews. It was the gypsies. It was the Catholics. Okay. And they were singled out because of their religion, because of how they related to what they call God. Okay. So God is said to be the liberator for humanity, to lift humanity up into heaven, or bring them to their higher levels of themselves. But when in actuality, in the 3D, it's been the source of war and killing people off in masses, right? So that is a major poison that's happening right now within humanity. And there is a new God poison being brought in, especially in the West, and that's through the New Age movement. I'm sorry to say that. I'm probably going to make a lot of people upset by saying this, but the lies of the New Age movement are even more detrimental, because a lot of the lies of the New Age movement demonize the physical body, demonize being here on the 3D planet as it's a prison planet, it's trap, it's this, it's suffering, it's that. I mean, I ran into people who have tattooed on their arm, to live is to suffer. It's like, wait a minute, where'd that come from? So of course it's from our experiences. That's where it comes from. But we're taught that over and over and over again. We've been manipulated many generations. And this is why generational healing is so powerful, because when you can reach back into your heritage and liberate the trauma drama, release the shock, release the PTSD, release the belief systems that were literally hammered and beat into people of your lineage, they become liberated, but so do you in the here and now moment. Your ego driver doesn't control you anymore by these belief systems that are anchored in through trauma. Okay. So but what trauma really does is when it slivers the soul away in certain ways, that's creating alternate reality. Okay. And these alternate realities, all right. So besides religions, alternate realities and alternate timelines develop out of pain, out of suffering, out of the slivering and shattering of souls, but it also gets created through curses. Now, you guys don't know this, but all of Christianity cursed the entire human race to reap only thistles and thorns from the Pachamama. So instantly, through their programming, most of humanity is living out that curse. It's not the truth. And then they gone after and persecuted and murdered all the people that don't have that curse living within their community, which is a lot of our indigenous nations. And when the Christians, the conquistadors, came over to into the Maya lands and into the Inca lands, into the lands of South America, and said that humanity is cursed to only reap thistles and thorns from the earth, they couldn't accept that, because where they live, all around them, there's trees with mangoes and papaya and avocados. They were living in an Eden. that concept didn't register for them, and they couldn't buy it. So what happened? They had to get traumatized and tortured in order to accept the story, right? So they created an alternate reality. They created a reality that humans every day live to this day, right? The other thing, the other kinds of alternate realities that created are through these incepted AI programs. And some of the big ones is the Armageddon. how humanity is obsessed with Armageddon, the end of the world. Now, people who are star seeds, right? People who are like my generation and younger, we are extremely tuned into this because we have been threatened with some end of the world event our entire lives. It's in our movies, it's in our stories, it's everywhere. And this is an AI program. They want to keep people afraid of the end of the world. And once it's the end of the world, forget about it. It's Mad Max and Thunderdome reality, right? That's what's getting planted in. The pole shifts, the asteroid, the famine, the nuclear war. You see what I mean? I mean, over and over and over and over and over again, we've been threatened with Armageddon. But star seeds and way showers and multidimensionals who've woken up to who they are understand that's not the truth, because no matter what state the planet is that we inherit it, no matter what state we inherit this planet, we know we have the power to regenerate with her. Okay, but it takes us being committed to being here, being committed to the earth, being committed to the reality that's around us, the elementals, our true community, our soul community. Together we can do it no matter what. We don't, even if we're given nothing but a desert, we can work with that because we're not confined by the same rules of reality as they've imposed upon humanity. Okay, we know how to work with the elementals and connect with the elementals and heal the planet, heal earth, actual earth, heal life force. Okay, we know how to do this instinctually. So this Armageddon program can only go so far as we awaken more and more and more. We can't be controlled by it. Fuck nuclear proliferation. That's what I have to say. Yeah, okay, the world's all right. The pole's gonna shift. Great. All right, I'm down with that. Let the pole shift. I know I'm gonna be fine because reality's not what these assholes say it is. And I know I'm getting really belligerent because I'm seriously aggravated by it. Because I'm seeing what's happening to our human population right now. They are controlled. They're controlled. They can't think for themselves, and everybody's looking outside for validation for what they believe in. And this is taking me to the next point. What can you do to end your investment in these false timelines? And it's easy, but it's not at the same time. Everything that I'm sharing with you guys through these chats and in the Rise group and in the YouTube channel are tools for you to empower you to reclaim your reality and take command of your reality. So the number one thing is to get behind your eyes, pull your energy out of the future of what ifs, pull your energy back from that, get behind your eyes, feel the rhythms of your biosuit, and stay in the here and now moment. What's happening right now? What is presenting right now? That is what's important. And then as you get into really accepting your biosuit as the compass, as your navigation system for this 3D world, and quit rejecting it and making it wrong, and instead nurture and love and care for your biosuit, okay, then you're going to start making a different relationship to the choices that you have in the here and now moment. Okay. So, a couple other things that are AI programs. I'm going to piss people off. I'm just in that mood, I guess. Karma, the afterlife review, that's an AI program. And actually it's a brilliant AI program because it wants people to look back on their lives, pass judgment on themselves. So that when you're in between that 4D, 5D field reality, all your thoughts and feelings have massive interdimensional ripple effect. Soon as you pass judgment on yourself, like that, now you have just locked yourself on another level, locked yourself into the incarnational process. Okay, the reincarnational process. So now you have to come again and work out that thing that you just judged yourself about. Okay, I know it's like, and a lot of people have the experience, or there's a lot of people who've done the work of going through your near-death experience and stuff like this, and it is a lot lighter. It is a lot different than what this 3D experience is, because a lot more of your light is present at that time, but that stuff has your attention, and any thought and feeling that you have at that level has a profound impact profound impact on your movement forward. And this is where the wisdom of the books like the Egyptian Book of the Dead and the what's the other one, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they were telling us this truth. They were telling us this. They weren't calling it AI, but they were saying, listen, when you die, you have to walk through the Bardos. And if you successfully walk through the Bardos, then you can have that opportunity to wake up to yourself, your real self. Okay, and then coming back here to this planet becomes a choice rather than a matter of inertia. Okay, so, and what they're talking about is when you go into you die, and when you go into the Bardos, you're presented by all these life scenarios that you've experienced. Okay, you've been presented with all these life scenarios that you've experienced and have an emotional charge of, and as soon as you want to engage any of those scenarios, you instantly go into a reincarnational process and you get reborn. Okay, so what I'm talking about is not new. What I'm associating with as far as programming, that might be a little new. But like I said, these programs are ancient. They have been incepted into our human experience many, 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 many hundreds of thousands of years ago. Okay, so another thing that has been incepted is the God poison. That is also an AI program. Okay, so the AI program is this undercurrent that does not have emotional charge, but it does have informing way of holding space, and then they bring in the God, whoever that God is going to be. Now, we already know about the false gods that have manipulated humanity, so I don't need to go into that. But what I'm saying is that the underpinning for that to be so anchored within our consciousness is a program. I know, not fun. Okay, so the things that you could be doing for yourself, the practices you could be doing for yourself every day to jump out, to get out of these false timeline realities. Okay, so I already said the first one, get behind your eyes into your rhythms. Guys, every Tuesday, Ashlyn does an amazing job tuning people into their inner rhythms. That's the Bridging Inner Worlds, right? So you have support, you have total free access support to that every Tuesday to just practice. And you notice how much resistance you might have to tuning into your rhythms. This is that's all that interference that's been woven into our bodies on the mental field, emotional field, physical. Okay, so you can work against that inertia every week with her to tune into the here and now and get out of the trap of leaning forward and constantly being in the future. Okay, because those futures that you're leaning forward into are all created by your ego driver and your mental field that has been heavily hijacked. So you're actually participating in the creation of the false timelines when you're doing that. Okay, so bring yourself back home, bring yourself right here. The number two thing that you need to do, or the practice that will help you get out of the false timeline, is get out of polarity thinking. Okay, remember the 4D field is polarized. Everything's turned into black, white, up, down, male, female, good, evil. Polarity thinking is one of the most brilliant, ingenious traps for human consciousness that I've experienced so far. When we are thinking through the lenses of polarity, we are actually participating in holding those polarities in place. So if you're only about going into the light, only about the light, only about this, only about that, right? You are reinforcing the polarity reality of good and evil, right? So and here's an example. I have a dear brother starshine friend, you know who you are, who has a problem with what he considers like an evil voice, a bad voice that's on his shoulder, tells him to do things and influences him in feeling fearful or angry or bitter or jealous, or you know what I mean? Like childish feelings is how he describes it. And he wants to have someone get it removed. And my first comment was, well, I hope that they're able to do it with compassion. And there's this big reaction of, this has been my nemesis my entire life. Why do I want to be in compassion? Right? And I'm not saying anything about good, bad, right, or wrong. But what I am saying is that is a relationship to the energy, but that's not what that energy is in itself. The polarity thinking is saying that's bad because I hurt. That's bad because I feel powerless. That's bad and deserves to suffer because it's keeping me from being in my truth, right? But what we don't recognize is that on these other levels, that thing could be there because it was a beloved that promised no matter what, it will stay connected with you and wake you up out of the illusion. Okay. And that being quite literally could possibly have gone through hell and back to fulfill that promise to you. Now, doesn't that deserve some compassion? Okay. So this is how the blinders of the polarity trap works. It turns our relationship of good, bad, right, wrong into saying, that is evil, that is bad, that is this, right? And we are no longer responsible, infinite creator beings when we're in that state. We're victims. And in our victimhood, we become perpetrators. And then in our perpetration, we become, right? We become victims again, and we build up guilt and shame because we did something that we thought was right at the time that we realized caused great suffering to a beloved. Okay. This is why waking up to this bigger plane here of compassion for all beings, no matter what, is so liberating, because now you will never, ever be that perpetrator again. And you will never, ever be that victim again. You'll never have to see reality through that you liberate yourself out of that polarity lens when you are committed to the compassion. When you are committed to no matter what, you're going to find where the orientation that is the truth for you inside that opens that infinite well of compassion within you. See what I mean? So so that number 2 thing, get out of that polarity game. Get out of it. Do whatever you need to do to unravel all the belief systems and thoughts you have that keep you seeing the reality in through polarity. Okay. The next thing is inner referencing. Inner referencing means you hear an inner voice, right? You're in your meditation, you're in your alpha, theta, delta state, you're in your meditation. Things come to you, things are coming up into your awareness, and they will most likely be very different to the things that are around you and very different from other people are doing. Okay. But even though it's different than everything around you, you're committed to listening to the inner voice. See, what most humans do, 99% of humanity does, they have the inner voice. It doesn't match up to a teaching on the outside, or it doesn't match up to what other people are saying on the outside, or it doesn't match up to some teaching that you took on as truth, but it's really a lie, and you make that voice wrong, and then you don't follow it. Okay. So this inner referencing is the big piece. Once you get to that, when you truly let that inner reference inform you in your actions, in your here and now, in your perceptions, in your relationship to what is, it's a big game changer. Because now you can't be controlled anymore, because your willingness to override your own inner voice is not there. It's difficult though, because your authentic expression is different than everybody else's. I mean, this is a good example of what I'm doing right now. I mean, who in the hell talks about stuff like I talk about it, right? It's like, I have people ask me, where do you get this shit? You know? And it's like, this is my inner voice. This is me following my inner compass. And when you know it, miracles happen regularly because I follow that voice for myself and for others. And this is the other thing, that voice is not just your personal benefit. That voice really leads you into actions that benefit everybody in your community, not just you personally. And this is getting into that next piece of Dear Sister Starshine was wondering about the ego driver and needing to be seen and not wanting to satisfy the ego driver. Oh, wait a minute. Before I go down that road, I have to finish my points here of how to get out of that false timeline. Okay. So the other thing is to practice returning to the mother, Pachamama. Reference the Pachamama in everything that you do. If you value the earth, and you do things to connect and enhance your relationships with the elemental worlds around you, and connect, enhance your relationships with the communities around you, okay? Like develop a community that you really resonate and love to be with. The more you do that, the stronger, stronger, stronger that connection gets, and the less willing you are to demonize the physical body and demonize the human experience. So that new age, the new age movement, you know, I'm talking about that corrupts, is also corrupting a lot of that, a lot of the narrative, not everything about the narrative, but a lot of the narrative around ascension demonizes the body. It's like people think ascension means your body's going to turn into light and you're going to go into another plane of existence. Well, you do go into another plane of existence when you turn into light. That's called transitioning out of this body, right? And we do it all the time, and that's our natural state. The creme de la creme experience is being in this body and experiencing who you really are in this body. So a lot of the narratives of the ascension movement don't resonate with that, or people don't want that. They feel rejected, or they feel isolated. They feel like this is not their home. They want to leave. And you know, that's not, so that in that way, the ascension narrative is not helpful for them to really embrace their experience and why their soul is choosing to be here in the here and now. Okay. So embracing Pachamama, embracing the life, embracing while you're here, this is, you know, change that direction to cultivating your connection with the earth. Instead of cultivating your connection with above, what's up, cultivate what's in. The more you cultivate that connection, the stronger you get as a human being. The stronger you get mentally, emotionally, your courageous heart opens. And it's so easy to love with reckless abandon. You know what I mean? The more compassionate, the more grace and ease comes into the world, the more empowered you are, because you can create the life that you want. You recognize what you really want, not what you're told you should want, okay? Because you're listening to that inner voice. So just change the direction of the focus into here, now with the earth. And then I have a couple other practices I'm going to add in, and I'm going to get into the Dreamtime stuff in that piece about the ego driver. All right, so some practices you could be doing. Number one, reclaim the Dreamtime. Reclaim your Dreamtime. That is your vehicle to navigating your ability to connect with these other levels of who you are that are creating your here now reality. Reclaim your Dreamtime. Reclaim your body, reclaim your waters, reclaim your tissues, your bones, your ancestries, your energy field. Reclaim it. Reclaim it for the light of who you are. Reclaim it with your core being. And then reclaim your purpose. Your purpose is not something that's told to you. If some angel comes and tells you this is your purpose, call bullshit, okay? Call bullshit on that. If you're wrong, you'll know it. Do not take an outside authority over your inside. Do not let something outside of you tell you what your purpose is. You may recognize your purpose in an experience on the outside, but do not let it dictate to you what your purpose is and why you're here. You only can get that from the inner voice within you, your core truth that is within you. That is the only thing that can truly, truly anchor you in the purpose of why you're here. Okay. So those are the big ones that each of you guys could be doing if you feel like you're locked in and invested in a false timeline. Now remember, when most of humanity flies through time like they're on a big old jet airliner, okay? You can go up, you can go down, you can go back, you have some maneuverability, but pretty much the trajectory is the same. The trajectory is similar, and you're very comfortable on that big old jet airliner. You know, you get coffee service, you get food, it's relaxing, it's great, right? But you, as an infinite being in your biosuit, the one that's in charge of your life, if you want to be in charge of your life, it's not easy like flying first class on a jet airliner. You are flying an Apache helicopter, okay? That means your feet are engaged, your hands are engaged, you're alert in every way, and you are navigating. And when you do that, the maneuverability you have is astounding, way more than that of a jet airliner. And that is what an empowered human traveling through time and space looks like. Okay, they want people to stay in their comfort zone, so you just let them pilot that jet airliner versus you taking the pilot's seat and flying that helicopter. Okay, so just remember that when you start making your choices, what's the easy choice and what's the hard choice? Chances are you claiming your sovereignty, your authority is the hard choice. Okay, now the dream time thing. I know there's too many things. It took me a while to get to these points, so I'm going to do my best to summarize with them. All right, so working with the Sasquatch, they gave us 5 tenets. I'm going to speak to 4 of them. 4 tenets to how to come together with other humans to uplift the human spirit, to bring out the true courageous heart of the human spirit. Okay. The first one is that diversity. In order to see the bigger picture of what is available, what's out there, reality is so vast. No one perspective can give you an accurate picture. It is best when it's a council of beings, which means you have multiple beings sharing very unique perspectives. The more diverse the perspectives are of this council of beings, the closer you're getting to the real picture of what's going on. So that means you want to have communication, you want to understand and listen to people who have a very different thought and opinion and perspective from you. Okay, you want a council of people like that, and only through that can you get a clearer picture of what reality is about. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you have stories that matter. Your stories, and I don't mean your victim stories, perpetrator stories, I don't mean that. I mean your stories that share the wisdom experiences that you've had throughout your life matter, and people need to hear them, which means you need to show up and tell them. Okay? So that is actually something that feeds the human spirit, to be seen in your truth, to be acknowledged within your truth, okay, to be heard. That is something that encourages and brings out the truth of your human spirit. So because you may enjoy telling stories and being seen in your stories does not mean you're being controlled by your ego driver. You are being impulsed to come to bring out the best of you and share it with others. And by you doing that in your authenticity, in your truth, that encourages others to do the same. And in that, what do you know? All of a sudden you guys have that magical council sharing all these different experiences. You are hearing, you are seeing, you are accepting all these stories people are sharing of their experience. So in just those 2 tenets, in gathering together in collective humanity, your humanity and others are being elevated into their higher expression. Okay. The one after that is that there's no one here to save you. It is up to you and your community to take care of yourselves. Okay. No aliens are going to come down and save you from pole shifting or destruction of the environment. No Messiah is going to come down and make everything all right, even though I love that song. I love Bob Marley and that song. It's a great song, right? Self-sufficiency is the key piece for humanity, for humans to show up and take responsibility for their own needs, the needs of their community, the needs of their young ones, the needs of their old ones. Okay, self-sufficiency. That is huge. That brings out the creativity of humanity, self-sufficiency. My partner and I are experiencing it. It's like when you're traveling in an RV, things don't come easily. You have to put a lot of thought and effort into things. And when something doesn't work, you only got yourself to figure out what it is. luckily I'm with a guy that's really great at figuring out what it is. So, but you understand that it's a community effort. It's all up to you. And in the dealing with the different things that don't happen the way they, by just hitting a button, your creativity, your ingenuity, your ability to improvise happens. And that too brings out your human spirit. And then the last thing, the fourth thing, is leave the place better than you found it. And what that really means is think about the future generations. If you're camping, right, leave the place better than you found it. If you're gardening, you leave the garden more healthy than it was before you started planting, right? So this is thinking for the generations ahead, making the place even better for the next generation. So these four tenets are so essential. And dear Sister Starshine that was talking, asking that question about the ego driver, I don't want to invest in my ego driver, but I need to be seen. Stick to these four tenets and you won't get wrong. You won't go wrong, I promise. And I know I'm kind of like saying take my word for it, but what I'm asking is actually try it out and see. And if it's right, it really enhances your experience, then all the more power to you and your community and the people around you. Okay. And if you try it and you realize it's okay, that doesn't quite work for me, then bravo for you for discovering a peace within and you're following your own authority. Okay. So this is such a big deal for humanity right now, because we really need to come together, transcend the competition BS and I'm better than this BS and I'm right and you're wrong BS. That's all programming bullshit that cuts other humans down and makes and really becomes an exclusion. You exclude people when you do that, and that does not uplift humanity. That just creates more cliques, more factions. All right. And I know I'm not checking with the comments just because I'm trying to fit this all in. I'm going over. All right. So let me get to that last piece about the dream time. Dear Sister Kitty was asking about, is it possible to be too open in dream time? And this is a really important piece to hit on. And this will be what I close up with. So first, you have to reclaim your dream time for you. And what happens is that in all those layers of inceptions that I was talking about, you'll discover them within your dream time as you become more expanded. But ultimately, that compassion piece, if you have that compassion piece for yourself and all beings that you come across, no matter where your dream time might take you that seem like it's dangerous or seem like you're going into places of uncharted realms, it will eventually serve to empower you. So we're unraveling these entanglements that we have that keep us locked down and blind and stuff like this. We're unraveling those entanglements. And the more open and fluid you are in dream time, it's likely that you're going to get magnetized to these certain places where you're entangled. Okay. And so this is where your connection with your ancestors is really, really helpful, because the more ancestral healing you've done, the more support and light you have flowing into you. And that will serve as a nice solid foundation for you to show up courageously to these foreign places or seemingly foreign places that you're getting magnetized to. Now, as soon as you are going into places where it feels like, ooh, I don't know what I'm doing, right? Or maybe you're having night terrors or whatever, you can take that energy, you can wake up and bring that energy into the waking world and do what you know to do to transmute, transform. Okay. But if you feel like you want to stay, you don't want to be feeling like you're out of control in your dream time, or you're getting magnetized to places that, you're already kind of overwhelmed, it's a very simple fix. What you can do is make sure that every time you go to sleep, you're taking care to go into a meditative state before you fall asleep. And when you're in that meditative state, set your intention for your dream time. Okay, so you call on your beloveds, you call on on the relevant ancestors that feel appropriate, you call on your beloveds and your entourage, and you ask them to, you ask and set the intent that you only go to places where you are deeply loved and cared for. Okay. And when you do that in that meditative state, as you're falling asleep, You are not, you are at the navigation, you're flying the helicopter through your dream time. Okay. But I do also encourage guys to, shadow work is part of this work, is part of this process. So, there's times when you're getting magnetized to things within your dream time because it's really important for you to recognize that there's an entanglement there that's holding you back or keeping you blind. So it's completely up to you what you do. But those are my recommendations. And I also want to invite everybody this weekend. I know this is a little unusual. I don't always do this. I never do this. So the AI intrusion. Now, a lot of people are triggered by this AI intrusion concept and topic, right? So I want to invite everybody who is in this community to the weekend. I'm doing a weekend. So every weekend, once a month, I do a healer acceleration lab training with the people in the academy. Now, in the academy, you're enrolled in a longer term way, but for this particular weekend, I want to open the invitation out to those who feel drawn to participate, to register for our training, because we're diving deep into unraveling our AI entanglements, our AI program entanglements. I'm not just talking about the recent stuff, I'm talking about the ancient stuff. Okay, the stuff of the Armageddon programs, the God poison programs, all that stuff. So that's going to be this weekend, and it's Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. Mountain to 2 p.m. Mountain. We often go over that time though. So if that's something that's interesting for you, you definitely email me and we can make sure to get you registered for that. I'm offering this as a la carte kind of thing, just because I know how important that AI entanglement is and how influential, and that we don't have it, traditional means of healing don't usually get us untangled from those kinds of things. And this is a highly specialized process. So I just wanted to open it up to you guys beyond the academy, if this is something that you feel drawn to do. And I'm going to go ahead and put my email in so you guys can email me and we can get you registered for that kind of thing. So it's We Care at Lightbody Academy.com. And this is for to unravel the AI program intrusions. Okay. So yeah, definitely email me here and we will get you registered if you feel drawn to do that. Let's see if there's anything else. If the Dreamtime work is drawing to you, I encourage you to visit our website, because we have that's the begin. That's the way to start with us, is through the Dreamtime Healing Project, and then you can snowball into the Healer Acceleration Lab if that's something that draws you. But know that the whole purpose of this group is to offer tools and assistance for you guys in your empowerment and your liberation. So, we do a lot of free stuff with this group because we want humanity to wake up. If you feel that need, that you need to step it up a notch, you need a little bit more hands-on help, then the enrolling in the academy is that next step forward. Not that you have to do it. It's just if you feel called. This is not the kind of work that this is the kind of work that really is only successful if it's a soul call to get involved with. Let me put it that way. Right, I'm going to go ahead and put the website in there so you can check out the Dreamtime Healing Project if you'd like. All right, let's see. Anything else that I need to say? Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry I didn't get to the comments. There was just a lot to fit in. I went way over. We have to get going into our next destination. Thank you so much for being a part of this community and for participating in helping cultivate this conversation. It's really my honor to sit here and talk with you guys. And yeah, I can't tell you how much I appreciate this group. Let's see if I think that's all. I think that's all for me. Mwah, mwah. Love you guys. I'll see you next. Oh no, I will not see you next week. Okay. I might not see you next week. I'll be at the Sasquatch conference starts next Thursday. The Sasquatch Conference is in Kettle Falls. There's a posting in that about that in the Rise of the Multidimensional Human group. Dear sister Kelly, Rainbow Starshine, Rainbow Unicorn, is the one who organizes that. So that link is in there if you want to get involved in that. It's a really cool event. I'm going to be there for the entire 3 days, presenting and doing ancestral healing and stuff with the group. So if that's something that's interesting to you, that's in Washington at Kettle Falls. All right, guys, I gotta go now. Mwah, mwah. Love you all. Bye-bye. Take care.